You are now listening to the Building Her Dream podcast, where we have inspiring conversations with introverted women entrepreneurs who are building their dream lives and businesses on their own terms. Hosted by business operations strategist, author, and the founder of Building Her Dream, Shayla Burton. To learn more about this podcast and our magazine, visit www.buildingherdream.com. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the Building Her Dream podcast. I'm your host and lifelong introvert, Shayla Burton, and I'm so excited to chat with today's guest. She is Faith Teo, a creative entrepreneur all the way from Singapore. Hello, Faith. Welcome to the show.
Hey, hello. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you here. Now, I always like to start off with a fun question. So, Faith, if you could wake up tomorrow and have your perfect dream life, what would that look like for you?
Oh, this is fantastic. So basically, I was reading this book by this author called Sam Gausha, and I love what she wrote. She was talking about, what would you want in your life and also your business as well, which was so huge about this whole concept of regenerative business. And I love that. And for me, right, personally, my goal and my dream is to have a business that not just feeds me and my family financially, but also feeds me at the soul level and also gives back to society and to nature as well, rather than just us people or mankind, taking and taking and taking from Mother Nature. That's something when she wrote, I felt like my heart sing songs about it. And I love that. And I resonate very strongly with that actually. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I love that too. So it sounds like you really want to not only just make money, but make it an impact, a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, I've noticed that personally for me, like currently right now, I am in the midst of, running my second business, right? I mean, I was really blessed that in my first business, I have a lot of success there. And but I've also realized that I can't do well or I don't thrive when I need to do a business because I have to, or it's
Mm.
just for the profit or whatsoever. Things that drive me forward and things that gets me like really excited and moving with it is really something that has a bigger vision than just business or just profit. Like there's
Mm.
a certain callback as in like giving back to the world, giving back to our communities. And I believe a lot of introverted women entrepreneurs also felt the same way too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I love that. That's wonderful. Now, why don't you just tell us a little bit about you and your businesses that you have?
Okay, right, sure. So I started my first business. It's actually a network marketing business, and I actually teach and educate people about using essential oils for different kind of conditions. So I think for a lot of people, they think that with essential oils, it's like for massage, for a room to smell nice, and the kind of stuff. But with the brand that I represent, Young Living, it's a lot more than that. So like if you are looking for supporting like natural solutions that support your health naturally, or
Mhm.
like okay, how do you stay healthy and strong during the winter season and all of that, that company's products are amazing, and I've seen the way how it has transformed my life and people around me, our lives as well. So I started a business with that, but my core motivation then when I started business was twofold. I started it in 2013. It was actually just after I gave birth to my baby girl. So she was my firstborn. I gave birth to her. I was still working in the bank at that time. I was not an entrepreneur. But however, it was there were two reasons why I switched over to being an entrepreneur. So the first one was that I don't know whether what you guys have over there in America, but in Singapore itself, I've noticed that working parents really have it hard. Like when I was working in the bank, I only have like an hour with her before work. and I'm with her after work because she's a baby, she needs to sleep early, she sleeps a lot. So that was the life that I was leading, and the primary caretaker at the time was my husband. And I could also see like how my husband was also feeling like the stress and the load of him for just being the only adult in the household taking care of our girl. Because of that, I've noticed that like when it's just the two of us, me and my husband, it was a lot easier. It was just okay, you and me, where you like to go, let's try to go on a date and blah, 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 that's great. But when we have our child, right, it became that he was really so exhausted by the time the weekend rolls around that I will bring my kid out, just to let him decompress and do his own stuff in the house as well. So, but there I was like burning both ends of the candle, trying to make it work between corporate life and also being a mother, a new mother, in fact. That I felt really, really exhausted in the months that I went back to the workplace. So when I look at this business, right, it's no marketing business, I felt like, okay, let's just try out. Maybe give myself 1 year lah. Huh? If let's say it doesn't work out, I'll go back to the corporate life again.
Right.
Happily for us, it did well. It did well, and so that was that. And right now in my second business, I wanted to reach out to more people, especially basically, highly sensitive, introverted women, right, who feel like they might not be able to be successful in business because they don't think that they can socialize well. They don't think that they could offer anything on the plate because I've been there as well. So my second business, I call it Be Your Own Hero. So this is very focused on public facing workshops. We have coaching as well, public facing workshops, events, and I'm hoping also in the future retreat too, to support such women to create uh how create the success that they define it as in their lives, whether is it in business or whether like as their role as a spouse or daughter or even a career woman now.
Mhm. Okay, okay. That's pretty awesome. So you have two businesses, the essential oils and then Be Your Own Hero, which I love that name. That's
Thank
really
you.
cool. And with that business, you are helping women to create success on their own terms.
Yeah, correct. You got it. Because maybe not every woman will want like I know that I'm driven in terms of like I tell myself that and I also recognize that I am highly creative. So one of my what you call that, like markers of having a successful business is a business that gives me the freedom to come up with any like crazy ideas or wild ideas and just run with it and see how it works out in the marketplace. I love that, and that's actually one of my markers for success. Um, and another marker of mine was actually also that I can turn in a good profit also for myself and for my family and for people who are working under me as well. But I also can see that for maybe other women, you might have or might not have the same markers as me, and that's absolutely fine. We live in a world that I feel like the word for it is nuance, whereby we all can want different things, and we also will go through different routes to get there. And one thing I do appreciate about hanging out with women entrepreneurs is that we are all also very intuitive as well, and we're also very open to other ways of doing things rather than the traditional sales and marketing kind of stuff that's going on. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. And I definitely love your mission because it's similar to ours at Building Her Dream. We're all about, building businesses um based on our own terms. Because if you
yeah.
think about a lot of the business advice out there, especially related around marketing, is geared towards more of the extroverted personalities, right?
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so, they tell us that we need to attend these networking events with 1,000 people. We need to be on social media doing reels and dancing
Yeah.
and all of these things that we're not comfortable with. And that's the other big thing that, people say is, oh, you have to step out of your comfort zone. And I agree with that a little bit, but I'm not building a business. I don't want to build a business that makes me uncomfortable because that's not fun. Like, if I want to be uncomfortable, I can work for someone else's business and let them tell me what to do. But if
Yeah.
I'm creating a business, my business, I want it to be something that I enjoy, that I love waking up to do every day. And so I'm all about, like you said, creating your own success, determining what that looks like for you. I don't need to make $1 million. I'm okay with 100,000 or maybe 80,000. Like I want to, build a business that works for me. And so, yeah,
Mm.
I'm definitely there with you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's right.
hmm
Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit more about what you do later. I want to kind of talk about like what it was like growing up for you as an introvert. Did you even know when you were younger that you were an introvert?
When I was growing up, I have a sensing that I was an introvert. I think some stuff kind of stood out for me, and also thanks to my family members, like my mother, my auntie, who say certain things that got me go like, oh, is it really? So,
Mm-hmm.
so to me was that the whole thing about, to be honest, the whole thing about being introvert, right? For me personally, I also mesh it together with this whole topic about being sensitive. So being a highly sensitive person, because for me, being introverted means that I needed time by myself to decompress, time by
Yes.
myself to recalibrate, right? And I've realized that there's this very funny incident where when I was 5 years old, I was in kindergarten, and when I first go to kindergarten, I come back home crying every single day. So to the point that my mom was so exasperated, like, why are you crying every day when you come back from school? And I was just telling her that just so many things going on. It was like different friends. Some I don't know whether they are friends or not. Different environment, new environment, teachers that they get used to. It was
Mm-hmm.
really, really a lot for me. It was so different from just being at home, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I cried because it was very overwhelming for me actually. And I
Mm-hmm.
noticed that as I grew up into like a teenager and a young woman, all that I have people who keep telling me that I am too sensitive. And that I could speak up more, and like I'm too shy. My younger years especially was that people will say that I'm really very shy. I'm not speaking up much. I'm very quiet as a girl.
Yeah.
And I realized that's also because I needed that time to recalibrate, and I needed that time to also like process things internally as well. I didn't realize it at the time, but your question was so good because it got me to realize, oh, actually that was how I was like. That was my way of coping in the world. And in a world where a lot of the kids were really like sociable and chatty and like let's be friends, it was really, really different for me lah at that time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just got me thinking because when I was younger, I cried a lot as well. I
Yeah.
think it was more of just I didn't understand why I was so different and why people made such a big deal out of it. Because I was a really good kid who followed rules and just kept to myself. I wasn't too loud. And so I never understood like why people had so much to say, why adults mostly had so much to say about me being quiet or me being shy. I'm like, I'm not bothering people. I'm just keeping to myself, minding my business. And so I never understood like the criticism that I
Mm-hmm.
got as a kid. And so I think that's why I cried a lot. when I was younger. And then I don't know at what age I got to where I just stopped caring. Stopped caring what people thought. I'm like, this is it. This is me. I can't change myself, so get over it. So now
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me. Even today as an adult, sometimes people will have something to say because I may be the quietest person in the room, but it doesn't bother me now. But as a child, yeah, I do remember crying a lot.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe like our family environments, or maybe how our parents were like, and maybe like even like being the only child, also plays a part in that? Because when you talk about that, I've also realized that, oh, you see, my background was that, yeah, I was the only child for the first 11 years of my life. So
Mm,
basically, if I was born until I'm 11, at 11 years old, my sister came up to the world. So I have 11 years of being the only child. So which means that at home there's no other kids to talk to. My mom
yeah,
was also pretty protective of me as well. So she doesn't really allow me to go out of the house and play
yeah.
the kids in the neighborhood and all of that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it definitely affects things. So I have siblings. I have, older and younger siblings. Um, but my mom was also very protective of me as well.
Mm.
Didn't allow me to do things, to hang out outside.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I
Common
feel
background.
yeah, I feel like that affected maybe not so much of me being an introvert because I was born an introvert, but it affected like my social skills. And
Hmm.
so like I had a lot of and I still deal with like social anxiety. And
Hmm.
so I feel like that affected that. Also the majority of my family are more extroverted or at least just
Mm.
louder. And so that's probably played a part into it as well. Yeah, which just made me feel a lot more different because they were so loud and then I'm not, which I was okay with not being loud and them being loud, but it seemed like they weren't okay with me and my personality because they talked about it often. And so, yeah, I think that probably affected me a lot as well.
Understand. Yeah, like personally for me was that it was just the three of us. It's my parents and myself, right, at first in the home life. My
Mhm,
mom is also quite introverted too. So you're seeing like two
mhm,
introverts at home. And and my mom, she's done stuff like, like she doesn't really socialize. So she doesn't really have like a big network of friends to talk to.
mhm,
Maybe just one or two friends. And even with those friends, she can also be quite secretive as well. Like, if she goes to somewhere or go out for vacation, and a friend asks you, "Oh, I couldn't find you. I called your house, was picking up. Did she go anywhere?" She go like, she doesn't tell them what she has done or whatever.
yeah.
And yeah, so I grew up with like 11 years of that, right? And I think that kind of also like reinforced that okay, let's just keep things to ourselves. Let's not talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it's interesting how your family, affects you as a child and then how that your experiences as a child still affect you as you like get older, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it sounds like so your mom was introverted. So it sounds like your family kind of supported your introverted nature. Would that be correct to say?
Yeah, I believe so. So like my mom's introvert. My sister, when she was born, she's also very gentle, very soft like myself. So, but by then the age gap was really quite big, right? Because when she was born, I was really heading towards the teenagehood. But I mean, but we have always been very close. So like every day we do talk and chat, like we chat on our messenger and whatsoever. But yeah, I mean, we were just saying that, I mean, I do have a large network, but that's also because of my business.
Mhm.
She has quite a small social network. She's really okay that she only have only a couple of friends or whichever lah. Yeah, and my father, yeah, I mean, he is also a very gentle guy, gentle, soft-spoken guy. I
Mhm.
would say that if I were to peg him, if he's either one or the other, also more towards introvert, but is also able to socialize as needed as well. So yeah, you can say that we are a family of introverts lah. Yeah, yeah. Funny story was that when I went to secondary school, so over here in Singapore, secondary school is kind of like I don't know what's the equivalent over there in USA, but this is when you're like 13 to 16 years old.
Okay.
I kind of had the thought that I'm so sick of being an introvert and so shy and so quiet that way that when I first went to secondary school, I break out in the in the massive way lah. Like I really tried to talk to people, try to socialize. It has its own learnings and benefits, but also some lessons I've learned along the way lah. Like I think at the time people were a bit shocked that they've never seen the side of me, but it's just myself trying to recalibrate also.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. So you started your first business, I remember, um, because you were having your child and you wanted to
Yeah.
spend more time with your child. So, what were some of the challenges that you initially faced when you were starting your business and becoming an entrepreneur for the first time?
So it was quite funny that as a kid, I find that personally now when I look back, it is hilarious when you ask an introvert to start a network marketing business because in network marketing, right, or in the MLM business, there's a lot of socializing to there's a lot of socializing to be done because you're talking to people like, hey, you want to try this product or come up for this event, it was really fun and whatever, right? So that's
Yeah.
actually quite extroverted. That's quite extroverted activities. So I was also laughing to myself, like, how did I land there in the first place? But what happened was that, and honestly, I also at the time, the early days of my business, I did have thought like, who do I talk to? But it
Right.
just so happened that, yeah, it just so happened that I think for anyone out there who's having a similar situation, I will always say that you must be very clear about why you are in this business in the first place. Like, what is the dreams that you have? What do you want to create lah, in your reality? I know personally for me at the time, I have two very big dreams, and they were kind of like my purpose that's anchoring me to move forward, even when I felt uncomfortable at talking to so many people and even was requested to do training by the local office and all of that lah. And the
Mhm.
answer is that when you're very clear on purpose and you know why you want to grow this business, right, things will fall in because you realize that you've been doing all these things because you want to you want to breathe your dream into a reality. So at that time I have two. So my first dream was that I want to be able to be home for my family. I want to be home for my baby girl, watch her grow up. I want to be home with my husband because, it was like it was a situation that I noticed that, the saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So in
Yeah.
our case, it's very true. But at the time, the village is just me and my husband. Because my mom was also telling me that she had spent so much time taking care of us that she really wanted space and time by herself to enjoy her golden years right now. So I mean I have to honor her at where she's at now, right? So that was the big dream that I have. It's like to do so well that I can be home for my kids. Now I have two kids. So my daughter right now, she's 12 years old, and my son is 9 years old. And happily enough, for the past like over 10 years, right, we have been home for our kids. So our kids have been in a situation that when they come home from school, they see mommy and daddy around. Or they see
Yeah.
one parent, if the other parent just goes out for a meeting or whatsoever. Um, the other purpose that I had that was anchoring me forward was also that at the time in 2013, right, the landscape in Asia was that if your baby is sick, if your child is sick, you just have to rush them to the doctor or to the hospital. And I've seen the way how powerful this essential oils have been. And I actually wanted to change the landscape and start the narrative that you have more than just going to a doctor or to a hospital. You have more than just traditional Chinese medication, but you do have to still lean on the practitioner for help, you know, that you can, if you're open to it, that you can try these little bottles of oils because they are fantastic for keeping you and your loved ones healthy as well. So I started with that angle, and it's very interesting that I think at the time when I spoke to my support team out, because I was like very emotional and crying because I was saying, I talked to some of my friends about product. I'm so scared they'll reject me. I have a lot of fear at the time also.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of fear of being judged. Of introverted, right? A lot of fear of being judged, really not used to talking so much like that. And and it was like I think it was very interesting that no one ever felt that I talked too much. I think a lot of them were very persuaded by my sincerity to help. And also there were some times that when I spoke to my people and said that, do you want to try this? And I also told them that, look, I come to you and tell you about this, but I can tell you also that I do feel very nervous talking to you about because I'm so afraid that what if you turn me down or you reject me or I feel hurt
Mhm.
because all that kind of stuff, right? And I realized that when I turn that vulnerability into like being honest about that, that also creates a kind of rapport with people too. Not that I was being manipulative, but I was truly terrified at the time. Yeah, but people are very open to listen to it. And I dare say that the way how I built up my network marketing business, right, is really not the way how most people would do it actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that vulnerability, that just makes you relatable because we all have those feelings, like we all fear, being rejected. And so I think, you just stating that just is very relatable and makes people feel a bit more comfortable. And so yeah, I love that. I think it's interesting that you decided for your first business to sell a product, because people don't think of introverts as like salespeople. My
Yeah.
first business was actually selling like costume jewelry. And so I struggled with that as well because now I have to attend these events and try to get people to buy. And I'm definitely not like a typical salesperson. Like my products are here. If you like them, buy them. If you don't, then don't buy them. I don't, I
Yeah.
don't have any sales strategy or no sales skills other than that. Um, and so that wasn't a really good business for me. I didn't become successful with that type of business. I think now that I've been an entrepreneur for almost 7 years, I probably would be a little bit more comfortable like trying to sell a product, but it's still not my strong suit.
Yeah. I totally understand. Yeah, I remember like in the earlier years of like setting up my first business, right? I was like, okay, I need to learn how to present and teach
Yeah.
well. So I'll be like kicking my own ass to conduct classes in the office,
Mhm.
like a couple of times a month just to stretch myself and what. And I remember like it was so funny because the first few times I was teaching over there, I was so nervous that there was one time because of my nerves, right? I really went into an asthmatic attack. Like I have asthma. So it was like I was like wheezing for breath. It was so terrible. And there were a few times when I talked over there in my earlier days when no one knew who is Faith, right? I was talking too fast, I was talking too soft, people couldn't hear me and all of that.
Yeah.
And then from there, when I went on to like speaking online, teaching online, right? I actually asked my friend, can you please come and support me or at least tell me like in the chat message, like, do I need to do anything? What can I get better in or whatsoever? And a lot of them were thinking like, can you please smile? Because you look damn serious
Oh,
and that stressed me out. Yeah. So it was stuff like that,
yeah.
lah. And I was saying that yeah, it's I can acknowledge myself that I've come a long way from that. But these things really did not come easy to me in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's for the same for all of us. Even, people who are more extroverted, like becoming an entrepreneur and trying to do your own thing is tough. It's a learning process. Like no matter how long you've been in business, you're still learning something new. And so yeah, I definitely understand that.
Mm. One of the biggest thing I've also learned is that during 2018 and 2019 of my first business, right? I actually went into overwhelm and I burned out repeatedly in my business. So
Mm,
how burnout looks like for me was that I would spend days like in my own room, not wanting to go out, not feeling like myself and feeling really numb. And yet also was also in tears as well because I couldn't understand why and how come I'm feeling that way. But later on when I seek help, right, I actually okay, so like I didn't went to a counselor or what, but I went to an energy healer because she came highly recommended to me lah.
mhm.
And she told me that, Faith, for people who are introvert, and also for you, you're also highly sensitive too, right? Because you run a business that needs you to talk to people, it also means that, energetically, if you are not, if you don't know how to shield yourself, protect yourself, right, energetically, it also means that you'll be absorbing their energy as well. And there are times where it creates the kind of overwhelm or burnout for you too. So that was a huge eye opener for me actually, lah.
Yeah.
Where I realized, oh my God, you mean that even plays a part? Like I go like I mean like because I do essential oils, right? Yeah, I know of people who look at energy healing and all of that. And I hear it and I can understand it cognitively, but it was not something that I thought that I actually am a living example of that too. Yeah.
So you mentioned burnout. What are some things that you do to kind of recharge and get your energy back?
Well, the simplest thing to do personally for myself, right, was that actually is that actually ever since that series of burnouts, right, I've told myself that I never ever want to get back to there again because once I hit burnout, it takes a lot of time for me to get out of it lah. One good example was that actually earlier this year, I didn't burn out actually, but I felt very, very low in energy, very fuzzy in the head, and have no energy for anything. So literally, I spent like February all the way to like I think May, really not doing much work. That was how I was like. The quickest way to turn that around, personally for me, was to go back and do the things that I love. Whether is it like something like fun and for me it's fun lah, something fun and non-business like playing games. I play a lot of like role-playing games or like console games lah, on the Nintendo Switch or whatever. Losing
Hmm.
myself in the good books helps also. Going out just to do things that I love, not because I need to do for my business, that also helps as well. And I
Yeah.
realized that was the one that helps me to restore my fountain of creativity lah, and fountain of taking care of myself too. Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like I'm I'm not at burnout yet, but I'm
Yeah.
getting close to it. And so I'm trying to figure out what I can do to prevent it. Like, I don't work on the weekends because I need that time to decompress, but lately it hasn't felt like it's enough time. Like the weekend is only
Yeah,
2 days. I need more than 2 days.
yeah, I
I,
hear
I
you.
feel like I need a 2 week vacation, but I can't take a 2 week vacation right now. So I'm trying to figure out like what I can do
To
to
do.
kind of recharge and just, focus on some fun before the summer is over.
Yeah, I think if I can share a couple of tips if you like.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so the first tip is that, again, this is what I've learned from my problem of times burning out previously. The first tip
Yeah.
is that whenever, and this is for me, so anyone can adjust it according to what you prefer, okay? So the first thing I noticed is that if I have to go out and do certain activities that really would drain my battery out fast, like,
Hmm.
so things like anything that involves around like public speaking or training people or doing like workshop or training, right? Those are the things that would actually step up quite a lot of my energy as well. It just so happened in my team, right? I also have introverts in my team too, and we were just talking about it as well. So I've also learned that, okay, on the days that I have to go out and, like be the public facing person, I make sure that regardless which day is it, whether even if it's the weekday, I will really make sure that at least what the day after the event, I will
Hmm.
shut down. So when I say shut down, what I mean is that I really do my best to try not to touch any work. Maybe I have
Yeah.
to do a couple of like admin stuff like sending invoice or whatever, that's fine. But I try to always like schedule 1 or 2 days, at least 1, 2 days before events like that, or any activities I'm doing that burns up my energy really fast. That's the first thing. So it's proactive scheduling lah. So I don't go like, okay, today is the event or whatever activity I'm doing, and then the next day is gonna be this and that. So I don't pack
Yeah.
my calendar that full. I used to, but that doesn't help at all. So yeah, so these days I don't. The second one is a book that I highly recommend
Okay.
introvert women entrepreneurs to read lah. And it's this book is called uh it is something along the lines of that 10x is easier than 2x. So the authors is these two guys, right? Dan Sullivan, who's a master coach, and also Dr. Benjamin Hardy. Sorry, yeah, Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, right? So they are the two
Mhm.
co-authors for this book. And what they're talking about is that they are saying that, do you know that it is a lot easier to 10x the business rather than 2x? So when my friend first introduced that to me, I go like, oh, what do you mean by that?
Mhm.
I think 10 is really a lot tougher. And they explain that, you see, if you try to 2x a business, right? So let's say you want to double your earnings, for example, your human mind will just think, okay, I need to put in more time in my work, I need to work harder, I
Yeah.
need to push more, right? But when you talk about 10x, right? Because the scale is like times 10, you know that how can you put in 10 times the work hours? You can't. So
Right.
something needs to shift in the fundamentals of the business, whether is it like identifying the 20% of the work that brings in the 80% of the results and the earnings that you have. Whether is it like, do you need to pivot to find a different kind of client, or whether is it like certain operations or whatever you need to streamline. And there's one thing that Dan Sullivan said, and I was like, wow, that's very interesting. Because I came from a background that before I started my first business, right, I worked every day, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 every
Hmm.
day, right? I think most of them do that. But Dan was saying that because his background is that he used to be an actor. So he was saying that in the Hollywood scene, right, you don't see an actor working Monday to Friday. You don't. But you see them doing things like they they have the whole year. They only take 1/3 of the year to work. That means like performing in front of people,
Hmm.
like or in the movie or whatsoever. And the rest is just spent on like first one is rest. And the second
Yes.
one is research and networking. Research, make friends, research, go and find the best techniques for whatever, make friends, networking is the other one as well. So in the book, he challenged us readers to, are you able to, can you see yourself doing that? And can you not see that this will only help you to scale your business rather than to limit yourself actually. So I love that. And it got me thinking like a lot differently about my business as well. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely have to check out that book. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great note to end it on. Those tips are very helpful for me and, for anyone else that might be struggling a little bit with trying to run their business and also, manage your life as well. So thank you for sharing um, those with us, Faith. And it has been just such a joy to chat with you. Before we go, I wanted to give you the opportunity to let our listeners know where they can find more information about you.
Okay, sure. So you can check me out on Instagram. My IG handle there is Faith. That's my name, Faith, Faith Inflow, Inflow. I also offer stuff like I have this like talks coming up called the Confidence Club because I've realized that for quite a lot of people out there, especially entrepreneurs, right? Or those who are thinking of having their own business, like the one thing that stops them short from taking the action was really because they lack confidence in themselves lah. So I run this thing on Zoom whereby I teach people like certain like brain hacks that you probably would want to have when you want to do that thing that feels so scary or things that like you didn't feel confident to do and you're just waiting for the confidence to come. By
Mhm.
any case, confidence only counts ironically after you do the scary thing. It doesn't come before that. So what I do is that in Confidence Club, right, I teach like okay, certain things that you want to know about your brain, the way
Mhm.
how it's being wired, such that you put yourself in a safe place to stretch yourself just a little bit more, every time that you want to stretch into for that new direction or business or whatever things you want in life lah. So if you want to look for that, just Google Eventbrite plus Confidence Club. I think you can find my name and the event there. If it's over, just drop me a DM on IG, yeah, and we can probably work something out actually. Mm.
Yeah, very cool. Okay, so yeah, we'll check you out on Instagram and also look out for your Confidence Club. Faith, again, it's been so great chatting with you. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on a podcast, dear.
You're welcome. And thank you to our audience for listening.
Thank you.
This has been another episode of the Building Her Dream podcast. If you've enjoyed it, why don't you go ahead and subscribe, leave us a review, and stay up to date with what we're doing by visiting www.buildingherdream.com.